Pleasure to be here, and thanks for the attention, especially being the last session here today, so I'll do my best to capture attention for that. My name is Ramine Darabiha, and there you go. A nice little Halfbrick animation we got there. We're being very creative with this. So, we're a gaming company, and I assume that either you or your kids or people around you have been playing our games. We're a company that's been founded in 2001 as a Brisbane-based startup. So our HQ is here, and we are just under 100 people. We started as a struggling local business. A lot of, a team of 3 people with wild dreams of making video games, a nice, cool industry, And the company, they love, contract work basically for other gaming companies out there and technology stuff. And it wasn't until 2008 that we started looking at what would become the most competitive industry out there, the smartphones and the games industry there that we started booming. So we're the maker of Fruit Ninja, which is the second biggest piece of software in history, which is pretty nice. Thank you. So a lot of luck involved, of course, there, but also a lot of hard work. And Jetpack Joyride, which is one of the more known titles on the App Store, but also other games that, maybe are lesser known that we're working hard on that. We're lucky to have a lot of traction with this. So we partner regularly with Apple on getting our games on the latest versions of their devices, on being on their conferences. We've been presenting on stage at the Apple conference, WWDC, several times. We partner with Google, and again at their conference, Google I/O. We partner with Sony on their PlayStation devices. With Disney, we've done collaborations, and we're doing some more that I can't talk about yet. We're working with Tencent, the Chinese giant, or actually China is 20% of our business now. So that's a very nice thing. We work with Amazon, on all of their devices, on their licensing business, on toys, etc. So we've got quite a bit of reach there. With Microsoft, with Samsung, and today they've announced their latest devices and virtual reality headsets, for example, that we're working with. So a lot of key collaboration with a lot of bigger companies out there, and we've been lucky to be at the forefront of that regularly. The scale of Halfbrick, so we've been very lucky in terms of downloads. We're not 750 million plus. It says 700 here. It's actually more now. And we have quite a good reach in terms of social media. We're 20 million fans with the channels combined. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and others, we're at 20 million people. Our user base is 400 million plus at the moment. That's roughly, it's a little bit less than half of Facebook, for example. So that's a lot of players in our network, and we're very grateful with that. Fruit Ninja being the lead, but Jetpack Joyride being at nearly 100 million people, and the rest of the games behind. We've gotten a number of awards in mobile and design, for example, from Apple and such. We reach most countries, and we're just under 100 people, so we still consider ourselves a startup in the way we work. We still try to have a very agile mentality how we ship. I'm wearing a suit today, and that's not how we do it at the office usually. But we have reached, we're at 6 locations now. The second biggest one being Silicon Valley, and having people there. And one of the key things that we need to work on is essentially the problem of being a small Brisbane-based business in a very, very competitive industry. So on the App Store at the moment, there's 1,000 plus games being released per week, and they're all fairly good. And so that's it's a bloodbath. And so our business is to make sure that we maintain the high bar of quality we're known for while being extremely agile. And so our biggest problem at the moment is skill shortage. It's finding world-class developers in Brisbane and in Sydney as well. So we got to keep that high bar for recruiting and bring more people in. So one of the challenges we've faced here is that looking at the schools here, they do a good chunk of that training, but a lot of the focus so far has been on the traditional gaming industry, which is PC and console, not so much mobile. So we want to work with that, and that's one thing we addressed. I'll get to that. We have a huge user base, but we have to leverage it, of course, and doing that quickly is, of course, a big challenge for us at the moment. We, of course, don't have enough people to do this, and another challenge we have is even if people have the talent to work on our games, they might think we only work on Fruit Ninja Halfbrick. So that's something we've needed to educate people on. So we try to come up with different solutions, and been working a lot with Tom Murphy here, who is our HR manager. Hi, Tom. And we started thinking about, like, what are we really good at? And being a startup, being very agile, coming from this background of a handful of people and people who've never had a job before, starting at Halfbrick, we realized that we're a great place for your first job. We're really, really good at getting people or students who haven't had industry experience before and get them to become world-class developers. So we started thinking about, like, well, maybe we need to find a way of getting schools involved more. And there's a sense also of isolation that we had, of not giving enough to community. So there is a thriving games industry in Brisbane, it's just a lot of people don't know it. And so we wanted to get involved more with that. So we try to find a way of doing that. And the great thing is we're based in Kelvin Grove. QT is down the road from us. So naturally we went there. And so we came up with this idea of Halfbrick Academy, and so Tom and I have worked a lot on this concept. The idea is has been to essentially have a team, a Halfbrick team, hosted at QT at the Creative Industries Precinct. So we work with them on basically collaborating with the school program they had there, and finding applicants in skill sets that were relevant, so designers, graphists, etc., programmers. And essentially ask for them to start applying to this program and try to make a game with us. We received 300 applications, which was great, which is actually more than we get usually for a batch of applications when we post a job for a programmer, for example, out there. And we went on to create teams from that. So we created 2 teams from these 300 applications, and 10 people each, and we ran the program twice. What happened in the program, we essentially ran a mini games project, the same way as we do internally or prototyping. So when we create a new game idea, what happens is we create a small team, we let them work on that program for a few days a week, and look at the deliverable at the end, see if it's a fun game. We tried that same thing with these externals. So in order to do so, of course, we need to have more mentoring than we have internally. So we provided Halfbrick mentors. So I was one of them, Tom was one of them, and we had 6 other programmers and designers from Halfbrick. And the goal was create a game on par with what we do internally. Is that even possible? So we ran that program a first time about a year ago, and 1 game was created, and it was very successful. We ran a second program with QT again this year, and reached these, so it was 10 people in total at the time. And 2 games were created, and we're very happy with that. So, we looked at how the general performance of that project and thought about, comparing that with a normal, hiring process. And we realized that 1, the games were fairly good, not quite on par, I'll get to that in a second, obviously. But 2, the onboarding that we had was actually better. So we ended up hiring 3 of the 10 people in that program, which was great. It's actually 50% more successful than the way we've been doing hiring so far, and it helped the people who were mentoring internally learn more from, grow as managers, grow as coaches for other people, and of course helped us find more talent. So we had a high hiring percentage, of course, from the program, and we'll keep doing so by running more batches in the future. This does not replace the traditional hiring that we have. It's a complementary thing. We managed to also fix the skills gap in the sense that the education, as mentioned earlier, focused so much outside of mobile. We managed to train people who had an interest in programming, had an interest in design, but not so much in making mobile games, become really vested in this to the point that 1/3 of them wanted to joining us. And in that sense, while partnering with QT, we managed to also emulate and outsource, in a sense, the environment of our game studio. And so we're very happy that we now think we know how to replicate that. We did not expect people to click so well with the games industry. We're really lucky that the industry we're in is about fun and is about, a lot of our games just make kids happy, and that's awesome. So the fact that people got to work on that, they were really, really committed to this program and kept working a lot more than we asked, basically. And that's why also we ended up hiring so many of them. So that was a very interesting outcome. There were some negatives. One was that there were just too many chefs in the kitchen. We had to work with a lot of externals to make this happen, in terms of premises, in terms of course coordinators, in terms of people who, would essentially arrange the program and try to, make the credits happen for the students and these kind of things. And mentors internally. This made it a lot more challenging than an internal prototyping session would have normally, of course. So that created overhead for us, which meant that the quality, of course, of the prototypes decreased. So, yeah, we spent less time with the students than we wanted to, and less time than if they were internally at the office. Another problem we ran into was that they just assumed that at the end of this program, they'll be ready. There'll be a Halfbrick, they'd be on par with the hiring process that we have or something, and be able to work at any games company. And some people were just disappointed with that. So that's something we intend to deal with. So based on this experience, we started thinking about, okay, well, we've run this program twice so far. We've got 3 games created. We've got good at onboarding. We've figured out we've proven that we can get students excited about games, work with us, and create new things, and better than we've been doing before. So we started thinking about how to expand this program. And we started thinking about the different gaps here in our industry. And we realized that, okay, well, we work with QT, but there's still a massive people gap. It's still very difficult for us to find great talent. It's still very difficult for us to find people who will be the, next makers of the next Fruit Ninja and such, or Minecraft and whatever. So we got through in the door now, working with schools, working with universities. We want to expand that. We want to expand to other schools and also work with other startups here, and other organisms to try to find people who would like to join this program in the future. So expand it from just QT and have more people involved. So we're going to continue working with students, work with startups, and try to seed basically more teams this way. So what we'd like to do is have more teams come and join us and create a sort of a incubator-like setup, if you like. So find more people. Second thing is providing a space. So we're lucky to have a big enough office to work with our teams at the moment, but we don't have a space where we could collaborate more. So we are dependent really currently on the relationships with external schools. We're looking to grow that and expand because we have to do that currently with Halfbrick. And so providing space for other companies. We're looking to essentially include our company as mentors for the others and keep doing this sort of academy program in a more generic sense for other startups here. This is not strictly about educating startups out there. This is also very much about bringing a more entrepreneurial drive at Halfbrick. Having a successful game such as Fruit Ninja means that you could get complacent if you wanted to. However, the reality of the industry means that we need to be extremely aggressive at innovating. So we need to bring entrepreneurial drive to our people, and we need to make sure that we work on par with them. We've also realized that our user base is a huge plus for other companies to work with. So instead of trying to nurture that just on our side, we realize that we can't do that. So we're much more keen on creating much more academy-like teams in the future and let them tap into our user base. We started doing that by investments. That's the next point. So we've invested in companies such as Other Levels, Bane2, iDreamSky, which do things that help Halfbrick, but help the gaming industry in general. So Other Levels does push notifications. That's the little messages you get on your phone when something new happens in your app. Bane2 does location-based promotions. iDreamSky is our distributor in China, which is the best company in the world actually to distribute games in China. And so that user base has allowed us to create growth in side businesses, and we think that'd be very interesting for the region, and we want to keep doing more of that. In terms of funding, we're looking at essentially the Academy was one way of creating three new games actually, for that matter. And they were funded by Halfbrick, though the time was invested by QT. We think that this kind of model is a good way of, fixing the funding gap that a lot of new companies have. So essentially, if we can get our foot in the door, trying to facilitate mentoring or location or user base for people, we can help actually, help the company take off and work with them. The last part that a lot of companies and a lot of projects like this have problem with is all the admin work. Everything HR, legal, finance, accounting, you name it. Every entrepreneur hates to do it. And we'd like to solve that for them, as in try to facilitate that. So we found these 5 areas basically that could be improved by this model, and we're looking to do more. We think that this kind of model is really good in terms of becoming more modular with the company, becoming more flexible in terms of how we can address things. We know we can't build everything ourselves, and so we're trying to essentially create something that contributes more to the ecosystem here. And that's all I have. Thank you. I'd be happy to have any questions. Thanks.